Hi everyone, wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom U'Vorach. In this week's parasha, Vayigash, we read how Yosef finally reveals his identity to his brothers. And he tells them, Ani Yosef, I am Joseph. Ha'od avi chai, is my father still alive? And the pasuk tells us that the brothers were stunned. They were shocked. They couldn't believe it. They couldn't answer. They didn't know what to tell him. Velo yachelu, the brothers couldn't respond, the pasuk says. And then Yosef speaks up again and he says, come closer, I want to tell you something. And it seems like he's about to add something, but it's not clear what he's adding, what information he's telling them. He says, I'm Yosef, your brother. He adds, I'm your brother, who you sold to Egypt. But that's information that they knew already. And for some reason, Yosef felt like he was adding information. What was Yosef telling them in that second sentence that they didn't already know? And I think it's a very powerful idea. Try to put yourself in the brother's shoes just for one moment. Imagine you sold your brother 22 years ago because you accused him, you thought he was this person without any potential and he was actually going to ruin the family name, whatever the brother's justification for selling Yosef was. And eventually, you see that 22 years later, not only is he successful financially, he's successful spiritually, and it's all being done while he was away from home in Egypt. I imagine that the brothers at that moment had a tremendous amount of regret and remorse. Thoughts like, wow, if only we didn't sell him. Imagine how much greater he may have become. If this is what came out of him while being in Egypt, in Sin City, in the worst place in the world. Imagine how much greater he may have been if we didn't sell him. If he would have been growing up in the lap of Yaakov, in a Jewish home. Maybe these are the thoughts. The pasuk says the brothers couldn't answer Yosef. Maybe they were caught by this regret of having sold him. And Yosef tells the brothers something very powerful. He says to them, don't think like that. It's not that I became successful despite the fact that I was in Egypt. Maybe I became successful because I was in Egypt. Ani Yosef, I am Joseph. Asher mechartem oti Mitzrayma. Doesn't only mean I am Joseph whom you sold to Egypt. Maybe it means I am Joseph. I am Joseph that you see here. Because you sold me to Egypt. I am who I am today because of my struggles, because of my challenges. I would like to read to you what a author wrote, John Gunther, in his biography of FDR. After Roosevelt was hit with polio, paralyzing him in the beginning of his career, he writes the following: Roosevelt learned what suffering was. He learned compassion. He could not balance on his legs, but he did learn to balance with his mind. Maybe he couldn't walk, but his feet were certainly on the ground. He learned the need for courage and hence could transmit that courage to the nation. In some respects, it might also be said that polio was God's greatest gift to him. Through the fires of his ordeal, he established a power over his own mind that he had never had before, and this gave him power over the minds of others. Wow, that is very powerful, and I think that's what Yosef is saying. You're viewing my sale, you're viewing the fact that I was here for 22 years as something bad, as a reason to cry. Yosef says, no. I am only as successful. I am only who I am. I am only here. Asher, because you sold me. Thank you for selling me, because my challenges, my struggles in life, many of us live with this if only mentality of the brothers. We go through life and say, if only I was born to a better family, if only I was born with more money, if only I had a better job, if only I had a better spouse, if only this, if only that, then maybe I would be so much greater. And Yosef HaTzadik reminds the brothers, and through them he reminds us that actually in life, we only can become great through the challenges, through the situations that Hashem designs and specifically gives to us. Remember, my friends, that in adversity, some people break and others break records. Shabbat Shalom.